The Universality of Islam Part 6. 4. The shallowness of modern science. The study of science, which Islam gave to the West, was to a large extent perfectly in accord with Allah's teachings. However, from the 14th century until today, Western societies have diverged from this Islamic scientific tradition. The study of science, which Islam gave to the West, was to a large extent perfectly in accord with Allah's teachings. However, from the 14th century until today, Western societies have diverged from this Islamic scientific tradition. Islam requires that people take over the responsibility of developing science that benefits all people with no harm to others, while respecting nature. Islam also emphasizes a very important principle that science cannot be turned into God, because of a very simple reason, which is that our knowledge is relative and conjectural. And therefore our sciences are also relative and conjunctural. Muhammad Qutb writes, "The God of science has, however, turned out to be extremely fickle, ever-changing and constantly shifting positions. Upholding one thing as a fact and reality today and rejecting it the other day as false and spurious. Consequently its worshippers are doomed to a perpetual state of restlessness and anxiety, for how can they find rest and peace of mind under such a capricious God? That the modern West is afflicted with this uncertainty and restlessness is borne out by the large number of psychological and nervous disorders that are so common in modern societies today." He also adds, "Yet another result of this defection of modern science is that the world we live in has become devoid of all meaning and purpose, with no higher order or power to guide it. Tension and conflict between different forces have become the order of the day. As a result, everything in this world is changing. This misuse of science has affected all spheres of life, the political, economical, educational, healthy, even the presumably scientific world of facts. All these factors urge man to look for a system in which he may find satisfaction, peace, tranquility, and freedom from contradictions. An example of such misguided science is the prejudice against blacks for a larger part of the USA. The rise of pseudoscientific racism and the popularity of social engineering ideas among Latin American white elites militated against the social acceptance of the black population. The positivist followers of the French philosopher Auguste Comte thought Africans were far from ready for the stage of technical modernity and neglected them. Adherents of social Darwinism considered the African dimension of the pluralistic society a sign of fundamental weakness because they assumed the natural superiority of the white race. 5. Why does Islam encourage science and advancement? Why is Islam the only religion that can meet the needs of humanity and integrate and interact with the universe in a harmonious way? It is simply because all other religions and dogmas have never adopted a true monotheistic way of life. They emphasize the personification of God through nature. They also assumed that contradiction was a principal characteristic of knowledge. Why is it so that Islam is the only system of life that can integrate man's needs for advancement and discovery of the universe around him? The features that distinguish Islam from other beliefs led Gibb, a well-known Orientalist, to write, "The kind of society that a community builds for itself depends fundamentally upon its belief as to the nature and purpose of the universe and the place of the human soul within it." This is a familiar enough doctrine and is reiterated from Christian pulpits week after week. But Islam possibly is the only religion which has constantly aimed to build up a society on this principle. The prime instrument was law, Shariah. Why is Islam the only religion that can meet the needs of humanity and integrate and interact with the universe in a harmonious way? It is simply because all other religions and dogmas have never adopted a true monotheistic way of life. They emphasize the personification of God through nature. They also assumed that contradiction was a principal characteristic of knowledge. Therefore, during a period of more than 1,000 years, when Christianity, for example, took control of people's minds, this era did not produce any natural sciences. Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, etc. Their polytheism 76, which was imposed by religious authorities, and until they were exposed to the Muslim scientific revolution. Neither Hinduism, Buddhism nor Christianity could elevate their followers to engage in scientific thinking. Nevertheless, as soon as they became Muslims and worshipped the Almighty God alone, they became scientists and great thinkers side by side with the Muslim Arabs of that era. Examples from history as presented above are great witnesses. Muslims were able to acquire the qualities needed for scientific thinking and advancement for two main reasons. Firstly, the glorious Qur'an and the noble traditions of Prophet Muhammad urged the people to contemplate and study their own nature as well as themselves and the universe around them. Indeed, Allah is exalted in might and forgiving. The Quran 35:28. Say, are those who know equal to those who do not know? Only they will remember, who are people of understanding. The Quran 39:9. Allah will raise those who have believed among you and those who were given knowledge by degrees. And Allah is acquainted with what you do. The Quran 58:11. Then, do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. The Quran 4 hours 82 minutes. Do those who disbelieve and not see that the heavens and earth were a joined entity, then we separated them, and made from water every living thing? Then will they not believe? The Quran 21:30. We will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth. But is it not sufficient concerning your Lord that he is over all things a witness? The Quran 41:53. Many of these signs have been thoroughly discussed in the Quran and later on discovered by scientists as they progress in their knowledge and their scientific techniques in research development. The following excerpt refers to a single sign that scientists found great details in the Quran. Or, the unbeliever's state is like the darkness in a deep sea. It is covered by waves, above which are clouds. Darknesses, one above another. If a man stretches out his hand, he cannot see it. Qur'an, 2400 hours 40. This verse mentions the darkness found in deep seas and oceans, where if a man stretches out his hand, he cannot see it. The darkness in deep seas and oceans is found around a depth of 200 meters and below. At this depth, there is almost no light, see the figure below. Below a depth of 1,000 meters there is no light at all. Human beings are not able to dive more than 40 meters without the aid of submarines or special equipment. Human beings cannot survive unaided in the deep dark part of the oceans, such as at a depth of 200 meters and deeper. As a matter of fact, this verse that talks about how the universe was created has the very information by which two physicists were awarded the 1973 Nobel Prize. However, these scientific facts had already been revealed to Prophet Muhammad more than 1,400 years ago. Secondly, Tawheed, the worship of Allah alone, is the essence on which Islam is built. It rejects all types of myths and superstitions, since they are the greatest enemies of science. Tawheed refers all aspects of causality to Allah. Therefore, scholars should be able to investigate and discover these relationships, know them, and then put them to the use of humanity. After the long and bitter struggle between science and other religions, Islam came to bring harmony between the religion of Allah and science in this century of science. In this regard, the Muslim World League has established a commission that is specialized in investigating the scientifically proven facts as described in the Qur'an and Sunnah, teachings of Prophet Muhammad.
In summary, other ways of life Christianity, Buddhism, capitalism, communism and Hinduism have never come to a unified understanding of Allah, man or nature. Thus their views of science have been fallacious. The unity of Islam allows a proper scientific perspective, which promotes advancement and development in the fields of science and technology. Such understanding of reality and the relation between the human being and nature in addition to the role Muslims should play in science is clearly illustrated in this quote from Dr. Mahathir Mohammed's speech at the Oxford Islamic Forum. In this modern world, Muslims have a real mission. They must bring back the spiritual values to a world that is fast becoming godless and thoroughly materialistic, so arrogant that it thinks it knows all the answers to everything. A world which will develop the ultimate means of destruction and place it on the hands of irresponsible and insane individuals, a world teetering in the brink of a man-made apocalypse. Presently, people want to create a world according to their wishes. They forget that for all their brilliance, they can hardly answer the why questions. They cannot answer why it works the way it does, why the universe operates in the way it does, why matter acts in the way it does, why oxygen and hydrogen form water, etc. Our scientific endeavor may provide different mechanisms to achieve adequate observation of and descriptive laws of the universe. Adequate explanatory ability will remain most of the time beyond the reach of purely human science. If any answers would emerge, they would only be conjectural. The 21st century is insignificant to the Muslims and non-Muslims alike. It is just a period in time, which will see many changes to which Muslims will be part of, regardless of their stand towards them. It is better if they faced it with their eyes wide open and with a clear vision of what they want to do and the role they wish to play. And if they chose to play a constructive role while retaining their faith, the spiritual values and brotherhood, they would be able to contribute positively to the development of humankind. I think it is appropriate to conclude this chapter with the words of the great historian of sciences, V. Robinson, in describing the situation of Muslim Spain during the Dark Ages in Europe. It is a reminder regarding the function of Islam as a genuine drive for guiding and benefiting science, which its aim should be for the benefit of humanity, shown with public lamps. Europe was dirty. Cordova built 1,000 baths. Europe was covered with vermin. Cordova changed its garments daily. Europe lay in mud. Cordova's streets were paved. Europe's palaces had smoke holes in the ceiling. Cordova's arabesques were exquisite. Europe's nobility could not sign its name. Cordova's children went to school. Europe's monks could not read the baptismal service. Cordova's teachers created a library of Alexandrian dimensions. This conclusion leads to the fourth principle towards which the universality of Islam points, that it provides the best solutions to the problems facing humankind rather than creating new ones. Today faces numerous critical problems, from individual problems such as alcoholism and sexual diseases, to social problems such as the dire conditions of the elderly, abuse of children and women, and pervasive global problems like wars of aggression.